Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. Before I get started on today's episode, just want to thank everybody for following the podcast and YouTube channel. Getting close to 3,000 subscribers, so if you guys do enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe. So for today's episode, I want to break down Kyle Anderson's role, and I think his role is going to become even more crucial for the Miami Heat, especially with the team dealing with some new roster challenges. So I want to dive into how slow-mo can help set up this Miami Heat's bench to replace someone who just got injured. So Miami Heat's rotation is going to change now that Niko Jovic is going to be absent for some time. I think he's going to miss the regular season now. There's only 27 games left, and it looks like he fractured a finger in his left hand. He's left-handed, and so he should probably be out for a couple of months. So he might be able to come back at the end of the season, but it looks like Nico's going to miss a ton of time. And because of that, there's not going to be that many people that can replace him as our sixth man. I don't think Kyle Anderson is going to be necessarily our sixth man, but he is the only guy off our bench that can replicate any of the skill set that Niko had. But the issue is he's 31, Niko was 21. So there is that 10-year age gap. But again, with Niko being out for a while, in my opinion, I think Anderson's versatility off the bench becomes even more valuable. His veteran presence is going to be important for this Miami Heat team to keep them afloat, because we already know this is a very mediocre average team that blows fourth quarter and third quarter leads. It feels like every single week, and it's been rough to witness, but it makes sense because we don't have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is now on the Warriors. The Warriors are 5-1 with him, and our best player is gone. So we are going to struggle each and every game against every single opponent, even the bottom feeders, which is just sad. But anyway, the Heat need someone to fill multiple roles off the bench, and Anderson brings a lot to the table in terms of covering the Niko role. In general, the Heat are screwed. I mean, losing Niko is pretty big, even though he is an inconsistent role player. He's only 21 years old. But having someone coming off the bench who's 6'11", who can kind of run the offense, who could hit the three at a decent clip, is going to be tough for this Miami Heat team that already has trouble scoring. So anyway, before we dive deeper into the current role, let's look at Kyle Anderson's jersey real quick before he got here to the Miami Heat recently with the Jimmy Butler trade. So one, he went to UCLA like a few of his teammates, and he developed his unique style while he was playing in college. He also played for the San Antonio Spurs, was drafted by the Spurs, and he learned under Coach Pup's system. So he's played with arguably one of the best coaches of all time in one of the best organizations in the NBA with San Antonio. He was able to refine his game with the Memphis Grizzlies, made contributions for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and now he's bringing all that experience to the Miami Heat. So that journey has definitely shaped him as a veteran that can step up in this moment for the injury of a young player. So why is it a good thing that we have Kyle Anderson, and why do I think he's probably going to get more of the minutes? I think it's because of his flexibility. At 6'9", he could play both forward spots. So you could play the small forward, he could play the power forward. He's even played the five so far, and I think he's played 4 games with the Miami Heat so far. And in those 4 games, Spo already had him as their small ball 5. He could play 3 through 5. So he's going to fill in those spots. He's going to run the offense as a point forward. He's not going to run it as effectively as Niko did. He's not going to be as quick, and he's not going to play in transition like Niko did, but he can play that point forward position to a certain degree. He can match up against bigger players when needed. He can also switch onto smaller guards effectively. He's a pretty good defender as well. And so I think that's going to be huge. Veteran experience. Slow-mo brings playoff experience. He's going to be one of the older guys on our team now, especially now we traded Jimmy Butler and Kevin Love doesn't even play. So when you're dealing with rotational adjustments, I think his calm, methodical approach is going to help this Miami Heat bench. Another quality for Slow-mo is game tempo, the way he controls the game, and he forces defenders to play at his pace. Again, there's not going to be a ton of actions run for Kyle Anderson. His usage is not going to be high, but he does force players to play at his pace. He does create confusion with hesitation moves, like he has pretty good footwork. Again, he's not the most athletic guy, so he has use basketball IQ. So he's a good passer. He's good at finding people cutting, moving off ball. And so I think that's going to be helpful for this Miami Heat's bench. His scoring production, he's not known as a primary scorer, but he's capable. He scored 15 against the Mavericks, I believe, in that loss, which was that was a pathetic loss. Half their entire team was gone. So that was rough, but he played amazing. He's not going to be super aggressive looking for a shot, but he does have a methodical style. He does have the ability to spread the floor. He does have the ability to finish at the rim. He could also cut at times and play off ball and finish at the rim. He does hit those open threes every once in a while, and he does get some offensive rebounds from time to time and get some good putback opportunities. So he's not going to dominate on the offensive end, but he's just going to be a solid, steady player that can come in, unlike a Terry Rozier, who I'll make a video on that this week as well, because he's been terrible. But again, with the bench rotation changes, Anderson's playmaking again is going to become even more critical, especially when you have no Niko and when Terry Rozier is just terrible and is only averaging a few assists per game as our backup point guard, was our starting point guard. So we need someone that can help run the offense, find cutters, who can help create mismatches, someone who can actually execute dribble handoffs. He could do that with Duncan Robinson, since Duncan's coming off the bench as well for now. But yeah, he needs to be maintaining the bench productivity, and that's going to be a lot to ask for him too. So again, Miami, this team might be screwed, honestly, losing Jovic and keeping Rozier in the rotation. So we need to figure this out. We're not going to see a crazy uptick in his minutes. I think he's going to obviously play a little more, and it's going to be crucial for him to play a little bit more. But I think his time is going to be scattered across maybe even Haywood Highsmith getting a little more time, even though he's been not playing at all, and maybe Hawkes as well, getting some of that rotation. So Hawkes has been out of the rotation since All-Star break, and he needs to get some time, especially over Terry Rozier. We don't have any other really point guards on the roster now that Drew Smith is hurt. I mean, I don't know why Spo doesn't take a flyer on Isaiah Stevens and lets him play. This season is so lost right now. Like, we are going to be at the best the sixth spot. I don't see that happening the way how we've been so inconsistent offensively and the defensive lapses that we also do have for a defensive minded team. But we're going to be anywhere from 6 to 10. Honestly, 6 to 10 is that like range. Like, what do we have to lose at this point? Like, we're in mediocrity at this point. Like, being in the middle is the worst. Like, we're not a top team, so we're not going to get home court. We're not going to go far in the playoffs, and then we're not bad enough where we're going to get like a top 5, top 10 pick. So like, we're literally in the middle. We're probably going to get like a 13th, 14th pick again, and it's just a tough spot to be at. So like, why not play Isaiah Stevens as our backup over Terry? Like, I don't understand that. But anyway, going back to slow-mo. So again, I think he needs to help build chemistry with his lineup combinations. Again, pick and roll chemistry with bench bigs, which they're pretty much are none now. He's the only one. Like, Kevin Love's not playing. Kalel and Bam are the only two bigs in the front court. So I don't know who that chemistry is going to be with, but he's going to have to develop that chemistry with Duncan as long as he's coming off the bench. Again, with that DHO, he needs to understand his teammates' sweet spots. So who's that going to be off the bench? Like, again, Alec Burks is probably going to get some time, perhaps. I guess Terry's still in the rotation. So he needs to find out whoever is in that rotation where their sweet spots are. He needs to read and react to different play styles. And I think that's going to help him fit in. With the Miami Heat's playoff push, 27 games, they're the 8th seed, lost a ton of games, 13, 14, 15 games in that range, up by double digits in the third quarter, late in the third quarter or the fourth. Every game matters now as we head towards the postseason, and his expanded role could be a defining factor in maintaining the Miami Heat's bench productivity, because they've been crap, providing flexibility. Again, he can play the 3-4, hopefully not the 5. He can help keep the starters fresh for a playoff run by giving him some more of those minutes. He adds defensive versatility. Those are a few things that he needs to bring to the table in order for this Miami Heat team to win games that they should be winning, in order to stay at least within the play-in. And I don't mean outside the play-in like 9 and 10. Like, I want them to be at least, at worst, 7 and 8 if we're going to continue to try, if we're going to continue to push hard. and try to actually win games. So again, last thing, keys to success for Anderson, if he wants any success off the bench, he needs to stay aggressive while staying efficient offensively. He needs to keep the second unit organized. He needs to maintain his defense at the 3 or 4 position. He needs to make smart plays, and he needs to build chemistry with his teammates. And so that's all I have for this episode. It's just frustrating that we lost Niko. I like Niko a lot. He's a really young and up and coming player. And yes, he's been inconsistent, but he's 21 years old. So of course that's going to happen. He's only played like 80 games in his 3 seasons anyway. So due to injuries and being out of the rotation. So it's not like Niko's played 300 NBA games and he's been crap or up and down. No, he's just hasn't had a ton of opportunity except for the last season and a half. And so losing Niko is going to suck. But I think Kyle Anderson could be someone who does take advantage, or again, Spo can go back to the Haywood Highsmith Hawkeyes minutes instead. Well, we'll see. We never know what the hell Spo is going to do this season because it's been a rough season for him and for the Miami Heat and for the Miami Heat fans. So anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.